Some of the newest rides with the most jaw-dropping Imagineering and the longest or most competitive virtual lines are in Disney's Hollywood studios. Some days it feels like you have a better chance of getting an invitation to sleep in Cinderella's castle than you do getting a boarding group for Rise of the Resistance. Is all the drama and hype worth it? Or are you better off taking a deep breath and just choose to make like Elsa and let it go? Hey everybody, it's Chris for AllEars TV and AllEars.net. Today, we're talking about the 4 best rides in Hollywood studios according to our viewers. That's right, we went straight to the real experts once again, and that means you. This list comes straight from reviews posted on AllEars.net by our viewers. Coming in at number 4 of the best rides in Hollywood studios with an AllEars viewer rating of 9.27 is... brace yourselves, folks. Rise of the Resistance? Oh, let the controversy begin. Opened in December of 2019, Rise of the Resistance is considered to be the most technologically advanced theme park attraction in existence. Featuring multiple ride systems in one complete experience, you're ushered onto a motion simulator, placed on a trackless dark ride vehicle, then dropped on a version of the Tower of Terror's drop shaft system, not to mention state-of-the-art audio animatronics, practical sets, projection mapping, and screen-based media. So seriously, what is not to love?
How is this ride number 4? This is the most mind-boggling ride I've ever been on in my life. This actually hurts me. I love this ride.
How is this not number 1? Rise of the Resistance is incredible. I cry every single time I ride it, and I'm not even a diehard Star Wars fan. It's so many different moving parts, and everything has to work perfectly for this ride experience. It's not just a ride. It is totally worth the hype and getting up and dealing with the hassle of a boarding group.
Funny you should mention boarding groups. In a recent AllEars Instagram poll, 33% of those who tried to get a boarding group were either not granted one or won a boarding group and were unable to ride because it broke down that day. That's a huge number. I mean, what's the point of making the best ride in the world if people who bought a ticket to your theme park can't even ride it? Let's see what our AllEars viewers had to say.
Jazzful20 said, "Finally got on Rise this past trip, and it was hands down the most amazing ride at Hollywood Studios, and possibly even all of Walt Disney World." Now for the bad. For the first time in Disney history, they've created an attraction that park admission does not guarantee that you will get on.
Okay, this may be the best Disney ride they have ever made. It's like 5 rides in one, no wonder it breaks down all the time. It must be number 4 because you don't get a choice to ride it or not. It's just up to the Disney lottery gods and the Force.
Exactly right. Our AllEars reviewers praised this ride, calling it, in the words of one reviewer named Hadley, easily the best ride in Disney World. But Hadley continues, it's hard to get on. You need to get a boarding group to get on the ride. So, just to explain for our viewers who may not be familiar with this competitive boarding group phenomenon. In order to cut down on the long lines, which Disney had anticipated for this ride, they implemented the first ever virtual queue system through the My Disney Experience app. Back when the ride first opened, it was normal to see people lining up to get in the park before 5 a.m. since you had to be physically inside the park to be eligible for a boarding group. As of the making of this video, the process has changed yet again, and you are able to make a reservation at 7 a.m. from the comfort of your resort or home if you live close enough to get into the park in time. But is it worth it? Do you and your family have to be on your smartphone at 7 a.m. with shaky hands, hoping you press all the right buttons fast enough to hopefully, maybe get a boarding group? Well, nobody says this ride is bad. In fact, most people agree it's the best ride they have ever been on.
Okay, in my opinion, this ride is the most astounding ride in any universe. I would venture to say it is number 1, except it's virtually impossible to ride it with the whole queue situation. So it loses a point there.
And that really is the takeaway here. If your family is making a trip totally dependent on getting on this attraction, then you may be setting yourself up to ruin your vacation. and those who don't understand the boarding group system will be the first to experience a potentially great disappointment. To Disney's credit, the virtual queue system was designed to prevent previous situations like when Captain EO first opened in Disneyland and fans waited 13 hours overnight to experience it. Imagine waiting 13 hours in a line and then the ride breaks down. And let's face it, with so many intricate technologies working together on one experience on a ride of this scale, it makes perfect sense that it would break down a lot. We have some very helpful tutorials for winning a boarding group at AllEars.net. And here's a link to one of Molly's videos where she explains the whole process to you. We'll give the final comment on this ride to All Ears reviewer Steven Wilson, who said, "I can't recommend this ride enough. It is the best ride I've ever been on." The pros, arguably the best ride in the world. A 20-minute experience. A hit among Star Wars fans and non-Star Wars fans alike. The cons, 33% who tried to ride didn't get to. Stressful to try for a boarding group. It breaks down a lot. Coming in at number 3 of the best rides in Hollywood studios with an All Ears viewer rating of 9.36 is Toy Story Mania. Opened on May 31st, 2008, this fun for the whole family 4D ride lets you compete with your friends and family in classic carnival games as you spin between interactive 3D screens featuring your favorite Toy Story characters. One of the most technologically sophisticated attractions at the time of its unveiling, it cost an estimated $80 million to design and build and run one of Disney's most advanced automation systems controlled by more than 150 computers. Hey, if you really want to nerd out, Google the technology on this ride and how the computers coordinate the location of the ride vehicle with the angle of your spring action shooter and the location of the screen to ensure accurate scoring. Sorry, I digress.
ATC 8987 says, "This is a must-do every time we visit. We love how interactive it is and go on it several times a trip to try to beat each other's scores."
Pro tip, do arm stretches before you ride this ride. This ride is actually a game, and you have to pull a little ball on a string over and over and over again in order to shoot the different targets. And that requires use of a very strange muscle in the forearm that is not very often used. This ride actually hurts me.
I'm not your mother. Smash those plates. This ride is amazing. What Imagineering. It just goes on and on. It gives you carpal tunnel also. My accuracy is low, but I always get top score. Aim high and shoot often, folks.
So is this a ride you and your family have to ride while in Hollywood studios? Well, complaints are few and far between in the reviews for this ride. Aside from the lines getting long, a reviewer named Lizzie B13 said, "It does have some swinging, which I was worried about getting some motion sickness, but it did not affect me at all. Love, 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 love this ride." Right there is a lot of love. If you have a family with children who aren't tall enough to ride some of the more thrilling rides, or thrills just aren't your speed, it's likely that this is your favorite ride, and you should tell us that. Go over to AllEars.net and weigh in. The more opinions, the more accurate the ratings. Fellow viewer Emily94 said, "Brilliant attraction. This ride is fun for the whole family, and I've honestly never laughed as hard as I did on this ride. It brings out a great competitive vibe, but in the best way."
Oh, I freaking love Toy Story Midway Mania. Like, finally, I get to break plates.
I love Toy Story Mania. It's the OG Toy Story attraction, and it's so much fun. It brings out my competitive spirit, which is why I enjoy it so much, because I like to bet my friends and family who's gonna win, and the loser has to buy me a Mickey bar, because I always win.
The pros, fun for the whole family. It's a ride and a game. Amazing seamless technology. The cons, long lines. Not very thrilling. That weird forearm pain. Coming in at number 2 of the best rides in Hollywood studios with an All Ears viewer rating of 9.43 is Rock and Roller Coaster featuring Aerosmith. Opening on July 29th, 1999, this indoor roller coaster boasts a launch that blasts you from 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds, making it the second fastest ride in Walt Disney World right after Test Track. If 3,400 feet of track at a car modeled after a super stretch limousine wasn't enough, the addition of 125 speakers, 24 subwoofers, and more than 32,000 watts of audio make this ride, let's say, special. Each rider gets 5 speakers just to themselves, and every car plays a different Aerosmith song or medley.
An interesting thing about Rock and Roller Coaster is that each limo has a different soundtrack, and which car I get can greatly improve my ride experience. Sweet Emotion? Huh, this is a good time. Dude Looks Like a Lady? Now we're jamming. Love in a Roller Coaster, which is a pun on love in an elevator? OMG.
Metallic Splinter says, the most intense ride at Disney World. It's still deceptively accessible for those who are less thrill inclined, and despite having an inversion, you're still able to carry your belongings on this attraction. The Aerosmith theming is a bit dated at this point, but the music provides a great complement to the high energy of the ride.
Nothing was cooler than Aerosmith in the 90s, and I will never forget the first time I entered G-Force Records and saw Aerosmith in the studio during the pre-show.
Yeah, this ride is almost at my max intensity threshold, but in like the best way. Music in your ears is everything.
But is this a ride you and your family will love? Well, this ride is thrilling. If the idea of a super fast launch at the start of this ride doesn't sound like your cup of tea, and the idea of an inversion, aka going upside down, which is something that doesn't happen often in Disney parks, sounds a little much for you or someone in your family, you should definitely skip it. But a reviewer named Larissa Solly raved, best coaster in Walt Disney World, thrilling upside down coaster with a great soundtrack.
Thrilling, insane. This is a great coaster. I want to do this one with the lights on. My 7-year-old loves this ride, and it's a real deal, hardcore roller coaster. Well done, Disney. And they should sell that donut that you go through out front, like after the gift shop. I'd eat it.
The pros, a real coaster, satisfying to enthusiasts. As thrilling as Disney gets. A loud Aerosmith soundtrack. The cons, lines can get very long. That launch, inversion. And the #1 best ride in Disney's Hollywood Studios according to you, our viewers, with a rating of 9.53 is Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. The story goes, you and your family have been invited to the reopening of the Hollywood Tower Hotel. You start your stay with a tour through the garden located directly in front of the hotel and are brought into the lobby, which, let's be real, could use a little dusting. You're then ushered into the library for a brief film presentation explaining the strange events that led to the disappearance of the hotel's elevator towers. Since the mysterious disappearance of those towers, the hotel staff and guests have to use the service elevators, so you're led to the boiler room where you will board an elevator that's supposed to take you to your room. Yeah! That never happens. What does happen are some astounding visuals, followed by a plummet down an elevator shaft. This ride employs what was a practically inconceivable ride system technology in 1994. In fact, when the idea was pitched, the Imagineers really didn't have a clue how or even if they could pull it off. What some people think is a simple drop system is actually a computerized sequence that doesn't just drop you, but rather pulls you down the shaft. And there are different program sequences that are randomly chosen, so you never know what's going to happen first.
I mean, I can't argue really. The technology that makes this ride work and the story, the drops are always different every time, and it scares me every time. I've ridden it in California, Orlando, Paris, Japan, and it's always different. What a ride. The greatest of all time.
Disney fan BR said, the most thrilling ride ever. I want to ride it over and over again, and the queue is so cool.
As far as theming and Imagineering detail goes, this attraction is second to none. There are so many Easter eggs from the television show, there are so many little details and intricate things throughout the queue and the attraction itself. The backstory is amazing. The Imagineers went so far as to watch hundreds of clips of the Twilight Zone and piece together parts of Rod Serling's introduction for the pre-show. I understand why this one's number one.
But not all your reviews were so glowing. A reviewer named Deanna Van said, "I rode Tower of Terror to say I rode it. I understand it's a Disney classic, and although the ride was fun, I was left unbelievably motion sick after the ride let out."
It's not number one for me because it's almost too scary for me, the drop ride situation. But I will say that theming and the whole plot situation on Tower of Terror is legit, and I love it.
Regardless, a whopping 100% of you recommend this ride, and as a reviewer named Lazy Rocket put it, outstanding theming, probably the best in all of Disney World. Random number and height of drops keeps you guessing from ride to ride. Became my daughter's favorite ride on our last trip Labor Day week.
The Twilight Zone Tower of Terror is the best ride in Hollywood Studios, if not the best ride in Disney World. The theming is amazing. There's thrills, there's chills, I'm screaming, I'm laughing, it's great.
The pros: immersive theming and storytelling. Extreme thrills. Different every time. The cons: too thrilling for some. Not for those with fear of darkness or heights. Motion sickness could be a concern. What do you think of this list? Was it accurate to your opinions, or did you find it frustrating because your fellow viewers got it all wrong? Great news. You have a voice at AllEars.net where you can leave reviews for everything Disney parks related, hotels, restaurants, rides, and more. These videos will never be complete until every single one of you has weighed in, so please add your voice. And who knows, your opinion may be included in a future episode. And follow us on social media, AllEars.net on all platforms. There you can take part in polls that help other viewers know what to prioritize and even what to avoid altogether. And if you like this video, go ahead and click that thumbs up. Be sure to stay tuned to AllEars TV and AllEars.net for more Disney news. Follow us on Instagram at AllEars.net. New to the channel? Check out our other AllEars videos right here. And please subscribe to AllEars.net. Clang the little notification bell so you immediately get notified when we post a new video. This is Chris for AllEars TV. See you next time.